All right, today we are diving deep into a book that has, no exaggeration, changed millions of lives. We're talking about James Clear's Atomic Habits and the incredibly powerful ideas within it.
So, the whole story starts with a moment that sounds like it's straight out of a movie. Imagine this. You're high school sophomore, it's the last day of school, and out of nowhere, a stray baseball bat flies through the air and hits you square in the face. It was a complete freak accident, and the injury was, well, it was catastrophic. I mean, we're talking a shattered nose, multiple skull fractures. It was so bad he had to be put into a medically induced coma. But here's the crazy part. That horrible, terrifying accident was actually the beginning of a journey. It's what set him on a path to uncover one of the most powerful frameworks for changing your life. So, the real question is, how on earth does something so terrible lead to such a profound breakthrough?
Okay, so let's get into the first big idea, and it's this: the surprising, almost unbelievable power of getting just 1% better. And to really get this, Clear tells the story of the British cycling team who went from being completely mediocre to, well, totally dominant.
Their secret weapon was a philosophy from their new coach, Dave Brailsford. He called it the aggregation of marginal gains. And what that really means is they set out to improve everything by just 1%. And I mean everything. They figured out which massage gel worked best, they redesigned the bike seats to be more comfortable, they even taught the riders the proper way to wash their hands so they wouldn't get sick as often. Tiny, tiny things.
So, all those little 1% tweaks, what do they really add up to? Well, you can boil it all down to this one number right here, 37.78. What do you think that could possibly mean?
Well, here it is. If you can get just 1% better at something every single day for a year, you won't be 365% better, you'll be nearly 38 times better. That's the power of compounding. But, and this is crucial, it works both ways. If you get 1% worse each day, you slide all the way down to nearly zero. It's why Clear says habits are basically the compound interest of self-improvement.
Now for the next idea, and this one is a bit of a mind bender, because it goes against pretty much everything we're taught about achievement. The advice is this: forget about your goals. Seriously, focus on your systems instead.
So what's the difference? Well, a goal is the result you want, right? To win the championship. A system is the process that gets you there. It's what you do at practice every day. And the book has this amazing line that just sticks with you. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems.
So, why this focus on systems? Because goals have some serious flaws. For one, winners and losers in any field usually have the exact same goals. It's not the goal that separates them. And what happens after you achieve a goal? That motivation often just vanishes, and you can slide right back into your old ways. That classic yo-yo effect.
And this all leads us to what is, for me, the most profound part of the book. It's the idea that true change isn't about what you get or even what you do. It's about who you become. This is all about building identity-based habits.
Clear explains this with a great visual: 3 layers, like an onion. On the outside, you have outcomes, the results, like losing weight. In the middle, you have your process, the things you do, like going to the gym. But at the very core, the most important layer is your identity, what you truly believe about yourself. Most of us try to change from the outside in, but lasting change, that happens from the inside out.
And here's a perfect example of what that looks like. It's a tiny shift in language that shows a massive shift in identity. Someone who says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit smoking," still sees themselves as a smoker who's resisting. But someone who says, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker," wow, they've changed who they believe they are. That's a whole different ballgame.
So you might be wondering, okay, how do I actually change my identity? Well, it's not some big dramatic event. It's a 2-step process. First, decide the kind of person you want to be. Then, and this is the key, you prove it to yourself with small wins. Every time you go for a run, you're casting a vote for "I am a runner." Every time you write 1 page, you're casting a vote for "I am a writer."
So, we've covered the why identity and systems are so critical. Now let's get into the how. How does your brain actually bake a new behavior into a habit? It all comes down to a simple 4-step feedback loop.
Every single habit you have, good or bad, follows this exact neurological pattern. First, there's a cue, which is just a trigger. That cue creates a craving, which is the motivational force. The craving leads to a response. That's the habit itself. And finally, you get a reward, which satisfies the craving and tells your brain, hey, let's do that again next time. You see this play out constantly. Your alarm goes off.
That's the cue. You crave the feeling of being awake and alert. You respond by drinking coffee, and the reward is that you feel alert. Or your phone buzzes. Cue. You crave the knowledge of who contacted you. You respond by checking it. The reward is satisfying that curiosity. This loop is running on autopilot all day long.
And here's the brilliant part. Once you understand that loop, you basically have a user manual for your own brain. Each step of the loop corresponds to a practical law of behavior change. To build a good habit, you make the cue obvious, the craving attractive, the response easy, and the reward satisfying. To break a bad one, you just do the opposite.
Now, we could spend hours on each of these laws, but today we're going to focus on the first one because it's really the foundation for everything else. If a habit isn't even on your radar, it's never going to happen. So we start with the first law: make it obvious.
So how do you make a new habit obvious? One of the single most effective techniques is called an implementation intention. It sounds a little academic, but all it is a plan you make ahead of time about when and where you're going to act. And the research on this is incredible. Just making this simple plan can literally double or even triple your chances of following through.
And the formula couldn't be easier. You just fill in the blanks. I will do this behavior at this time in this location. So instead of a vague goal like, I'll read more, you say, I will read for 15 minutes at 10 p.m. on the couch in the living room. It gets to a critical insight from the book. Often, we think we lack motivation, but what we really lack is clarity. This formula gives you that clarity.
And that brings us right back to that core idea. This isn't just about being more productive or checking boxes. It's about deciding who you want to be and then taking small, deliberate steps to become that person. Every action really is a vote. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. What kind of person will you vote to be today?